My name is MaryAnn Worobiec. I'm senior editor and senior tasting coordinator. We're actually in the Napa office of Wine Spectator in the Cellar, in case you're not sure. I'm here with the Dwyane Wade, which needs no introduction, but I'm going to do a little introduction anyway. So, you are an NBA legend, sir. You have 13 NBA All-Stars, Olympic gold medalist. Okay, well that's enough on basketball. I want to talk about your career off the court. I think is so interesting as well because you have your finger in a lot of different ventures, from fashion, luggage. I was doing some research. The wood-fired kitchen, that food looks delicious. That you're part owner.
It's pretty good. We can use that at Napa. Just put it out there.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Okay.
Anybody that want to grab it.
You also have a production company that you're doing a lot of wonderful content with. You've gotten into broadcasting, as you should. You became part owner of the Utah Jazz. Go Jazz. And then there's this other side of you that you recently became an executive fellow at a little school called Harvard after completing a business program there. And you have this huge educational side to you. And then I also want to mention you have an upcoming memoir coming out just in the next month or so called
November 16th.
Wow.
Called Dwyane.
Dwyane. Ah, it's a good name. And then I do want to mention your philanthropic side. There's so much to go into. Thank you for all the good you do for our community. I know gun violence has affected your family as it has mine, so thank you for your work there. The Wade Family Foundation, the Social Change Fund, and others, so thank you so much. But we're here to talk about wine and the vintner, Dwyane Wade. Why don't we start off with the very basic of how wine came into your life and how you developed a passion for it?
Well, let's start off with another cheers.
Okay.
and I'm cheersing to you.
Thank you.
I'm cheersing to the wine community, Wine Spectator. Thank you guys for the platform that you give to winemakers, vendors, everybody who want to be in the wine space. You guys are, y'all are holy grail. So
I will drink to that.
Thank you. So cheers from D-Wade Cellars.
Thank you.
All right, let's start this thing.
Yeah, so how'd you get into wine?
So, I don't know. Like some things just happen and you don't know why it's happening. I didn't drink until I was 27. Right? My first drink I ever had was, and I always talk about it, was a bottle of flowers, Pinot Noir. Now, everybody out there, if you go from drinking lemonade and iced tea, everything sugar to some Pinot Noir, it was terrible at the time, right? And I didn't even understand. I kind of stayed away from drinking because I was really focusing on my career and really building something. And I knew at the same time that addiction ran in my family when it came to certain substance. And I didn't want to get caught up in it, so I stayed away from drinking, period. So a teammate of mine, Alonzo Morning, he brought a bottle and he was like, "Hey, young fella, try this." And I was like, it's terrible, I don't want to try it. But eventually, you continue to keep going to dinners, you continue to look around, you see the conversations going on in restaurants, you see people that, that look good, that you admire, that are great in business, and you see what they're doing, you see what they're drinking. You see the environment that wine brings, the togetherness that it brings to people. I want to be a part of that because I'm a people's person. And it's so organically, I kind of just fell into the wine space without knowing anything about wine before I was ready to really go in. Yeah.
That's lovely. I think for some people, the story is just like that, where you just kind of become immersed in it. For other people, there's this aha bottle, which is usually a Burgundy.
Well, I have an aha. Yes, I have a moment. Yeah.
But let's talk about how you went from being a wine lover to deciding to start Wade Cellars. Yeah. How did that come about?
I was in this space where I was kind of doing the next phase of my career. I had just left the Grand Jordan family. I had signed with the shoe company in China. And I was really making my own way, doing my own thing, trying to find and create my own lane. And I got approached by someone that thought that my brand and everything that I stood for would do very well and go together with the wine industry. And at the time, like I said, I had just started I was drinking Riesling wine at the time. I was working my way up. And for some reason, that conversation that I had with this individual stuck with me. And I eventually took that conversation to my team and said, "Hey guys, I would love to be able to enter this space that I have no knowledge about, and I know my community have no knowledge about. I would love to be able to build something one day that becomes becomes accessible, and it can speak to the community that I'm a part of. And so that's how we entered the space, and we walked into this space not having many relationships, and I came to Napa, did some tastings,
It's called research.
Yeah, I did some research, I did some market research, but I eventually had a dinner in Los Angeles with Jamie Watson and Nick as well from the Palmer family. They came down, they heard that we were looking to get in this space. They were interested. I think they were in kind of a pivot, in their brand at the time. And they came down, we just had a conversation. And from that conversation, I came back up to Napa Valley, met with Jason Palmer, Cleo, Mrs. Palmer, the entire family. And me and my wife just looked and was like, we like this. We like this feel of family, we like this feel. And we'd love to do something with you guys. So we set out to do a passion project. And that passion project was a 2012 Cabernet, because at that time, my palate was Cabernet. That's where I had eventually grown to by the time we ended up doing wine. So sitting down with John Keys, we ended up doing the Cabernet, because that's where I was like, okay, this is where I'm at now. Like, I was growing slowly. And so I kind of just organically came into this industry. And if it wasn't for the Palmer family, I don't know if I would have known what to do. They really helped guide us through kind of how to get here, how to get to this point where me and you talk.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely right. And the Palmer family now on their second generation with Cleo kind of taking the helm of things. Although, Jason, did he wear one of his flashy jackets when he met you? Because he has a few. Okay.
He pulled up in a flashy car with the top down. Yes, for sure.
Well, but I also love your wine story had this wonderful evolution where you started with the one wine, the kind of high-end Cabernet, which I have to mention the most recent version, the 2018, that cost 95 points, scored 93 points, cost $95, scored 93 points by my colleague James Molesworth recently. So
we were very excited about that.
That's a yummy wine. But then you decided that you wanted to extend your range to make the wines a little more affordable, a little more accessible. Can you kind of talk about how the 3 by Wade and maybe for those who don't know why the number 3 is important to you?
Yes, well, the number 3 is important. My basketball number. Allen Iverson was one of my favorite players. 3 favorite players: Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, Allen Iverson. And that was at the time in my basketball career where, long story to get to it, but I was at a time in my life, my career, where when I went to college, I was wearing number 25, and I had to sit out because I was academically ineligible. And a lot of things was going on in my life that just was not good, and I had to lean on my faith. And so I leaned on my faith of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Is what I kind of leaned into. And for me, it was 1, 2, 3, right? Father, Son, Holy Spirit. So I kind of thought of this, brought this together. I was like, okay, number 3 is gonna be my number. It's gonna be what I stand for, and I've continued it. And so when we started the wine industry, when we jumped into the wine space, we actually started our brand in Asia. We went to China and we were selling wine through a relationship we had, because as an NBA player, as an active NBA player, I didn't know how it would be taken at the time to endorse alcohol in a sense. Like now, guys can do it and it's cool, but at the time it was even though this wasn't that long ago, it still was, athletes and alcohol is.
Yeah.
And so we decided to go to China where I have an amazing brand to do it. And then, after doing it, it was kind of okay, this is not really why I got into this industry. I didn't get into this industry to sell wine to outprice the community that I got into this industry for. And so I wanted to create a label that I felt was, I was like, hey guys, I just want to be able to make amazing wines at a price point that is fair. That's fair, not and even though this still is an expensive price point for certain families, but I wanted to make something that was fair for the level of wine that we put in bottles and bottles up. And my team, amazing as they are, they were able to capture kind of that idea and do that. So that's why I made this line.
Well, and I have to say the prices are fair and the juice inside is delicious. We have reviewed this lineup. The Cabernet in the 3 by Wade cost $40. That got 90 points. So that is an amazing value for
I get this bottle when we leave. I ran out of this.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, we have a million others here. This white blend called Blanc cost $20 and I gave it 89 points. We can argue about that later. And the rosé is such a delicious $15 rosé, 89 points. It is absolutely delicious. I want to ask you a million questions about wine, but you have some exciting news that you're sharing with us today about a partnership you're doing with UC Davis.
Yes.
So please tell us about that.
Yes. So once again, getting into this industry, I've only been in it going on 8 years now. And there's so much to learn. As you guys know, every day you can learn something in this industry. But one thing, and even though I'm like a rookie here, in this world, one thing I do bring is my experience through my life. And through my experience through my life, I feel that I can communicate, I can help guide people who are trying to look forward, trying to have information or become a part of the world that I'm a part of. And so, getting a call, and I turned down these opportunities because I don't have a lot of time. I have like 5 kids, 17 jobs, and a wife but I felt that this opportunity to be on the board, to have a board seat, be a board member of UC Davis, which is obviously revered as the #1 wine institution in the world. I thought it was important when that call came in because at that time, and at that moment, I felt the shift that they wanted to be, the shift in inclusion and diversity in a big way. Once we reached out, so once we got a chance to talk and communicate about what my role could be, the impact that I could make, it was a no-brainer for me to join the board. And so I'm very honored and very humbled to have one of those chairs. I want to make sure that I'm not wasting that seat. So
that's so amazing. Cheers to that. Well, no, seriously, cheers to that.
Let me get some more.
Oh, okay. Well,
let's get a little bit more. Let me cheers to it.
But I think what's so interesting is as the conversations about inclusion and diversity have happened in the wine industry, and an official cheers to that, my friend.
Thank you.
I also think it's bad enough not to take a sip after saying cheers. But I think what's so interesting is within, there are more and more Black winery owners. There are more and more, there's more visibility to the people in the industry who are not white. But on the education side, I think that has been a link that's missing because I want everyone to grow up and think that they can be a winemaker when they grow up. And it wasn't the case when I was a kid because you needed a family with a vineyard and a chateau. And now there's more opportunities, and now there's even more opportunities. So we're so grateful to you for opening up the space. Do you have any goals or any hopes that you want this position to do, or are you just happy to represent?
No, I'm not happy to represent. I'm not giving my time up to just represent. Really want to make an impact. And do I have the answer to that full impact? It will not just come from me. It will come from so many different voices, so many different people that I will reach out to that have been in this industry, that's put the work in, and ask them, how can I help? How can this position that I have, what am I not seeing? What can you do, right? So I'm definitely not doing it for nothing. But the one thing I do believe when it comes to UC Davis is they are the #1 institution, but that is known in the wine space. It's not known in the world. It's not known in the community that that I'm here to represent. And so this thing called brand awareness is very important. The UC Davis brand needs to be seen, needs to be associated with. And so one of my things in conversation is we have to go to the community, if it comes to us.
Oh, that's so smart, yeah.
To me, it's intimidating. This isn't an intimidating industry. And if I told them, I said, I came in the wine industry kind of through the back door, backwards. If I wouldn't have came in through this way, through science, probably would not walk through this door. It's very intimidating. Not growing up, getting exposed to it without this industry. So there's so many different thoughts and so many different ways to enter and go, but we have great dialogue. This is the first, we just started. I had my first board meeting yesterday. And so a lot of work to do, but I'm excited just once again. And I understand I represent something bigger, way bigger than Dwyane Cellars.
Oh, well, thank you again. UC Davis has been a recipient of many scholarships. The Wine Spectator Scholarship Foundation has given. We support them in their endeavors, and thank you so much. I think we're almost out of time. I just want to touch on you.
Already?
Yeah, I know, right? Time flies by when you're having a good chat over a good glass of wine. But I just wanted to follow up with something you were just talking about, how wine can be intimidating for people. And I was just curious, like when you were getting into the space of wine, you know, finding the words to describe it can be tricky and you don't want to say the wrong thing. What advice would you give to someone who's curious about wine, but is a little scared to use their voice because they don't want to say the wrong thing?
Yes, you're right. And I think I've been there. Those people who first enter there.
Yeah.
And, you know, and that's why I do with Dwyane Wade Cellars, like I try not to, like this is, sometimes I can talk the language. I listen, I can learn, and I can understand it. But sometimes I don't understand exactly how it's been put to me. So I have to make it make sense. I have to make it make sense in my mind. And so sometimes speaking, but there is so many different ways to learn about wine. It's just not one way.
Yeah.
And so don't be, don't feel that you have to be like this person or that person. You can learn how to love a glass of wine, and that is all you need to really be in the wine industry. You should love drinking, consuming wine, and next thing you know, you could be making wine on your own, like you don't. And so I just tell people, it's like, if this is something that you want to do, it's something that you believe is for you, you believe it's for so many others, then just enter it with ears open, eyes very wide, but enter it the way you want to. Don't enter it the way someone else would.
Oh, I love that.
To me, these 3 bottles, they bring people together, right? From many, it's just similar to sport. You know, we may have different religious beliefs, we may have different political views, we may come from 2 different walks of life, but we share a common interest. And right now, you and I share this common interest of wine, and we can have this moment, and we can connect through our love for this. So, once again, if you love it, you can connect with anyone because y'all share a common interest in a love for something. And that's how I live life. And so the wine industry is no different. It brings people together.
Amen to that. And thank you so much. So Wade Cellars and the 3 by Wade, which production of these are growing. You'll be able to find more and more of them. I heard you're ramping up to what, like 25,000 cases in the next couple of years?
We had like 12,000 right now. Our goal next is 25. Take these slow steps.
There you go. And that's the way to do it too. So thank you again to the Dwyane Wade, NBA legend, vintner, education specialist, I don't know, everything, inspiration.
Human being, that's all I go by.
Human being, absolutely.
Go by human being.
Thank you so much for coming here. One last cheers, okay? Thank you.